This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information.
Hello and welcome to another edition of C2C Rankem. I'm the host, Big B, along with my co-host halfway around the world, the Primus, Tim Hendricks. How you doing, buddy?
I'm still catching my breath from this weekend. It's strange the weekend you have, the sports weekend that you have between the Royal Rumble and then the two massive trades that came out. We'd probably be talking about one if the other one didn't happen. It was a weird weekend, and we're only on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, getting amped up for football, Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl happened. All-Star Weekend's coming up for NBA, but you brought it up. Let's clear the elephant out of the room. What was your thoughts on the Luka trade to the Lakers for Davis? What's your thoughts?
I think I go with every sports star in the world. I think we all agree that was a complete shock. I don't think anybody was ready for that, especially Luka. And the funny thing is, if I had been on a basketball show, somebody would have asked me what would the strangest deal would have been, that would have been it. It was weird because I had thought about Luka. What's telling people that Luka going to the Lakers isn't going to happen? But I didn't figure that that they were going to trade him for AD. I figured AD was still going to be there. It's weird. It's not money. It can't be money. It can't be money initiated. From all reports that I'm hearing, is the fact is they were worried about his off-season conditioning. I don't care about that. He's 25 years old and he's still doing what he's doing. Heck, Charles Barkley wasn't the world's greatest conditioned player, and he was probably one of the top 10 rebounders in NBA history.
Yep.
But the funny thing is, what happens is, and I'm hearing this a lot, especially watching ESPN and reading little things. Lucas screwed himself because now he's out of the max deal because they could have put him in a max deal and then traded him. How would you feel if you're the 28 other teams that you never got a shot at Luka?
Yeah.
Because Dallas went right to LA. And
actually, I saw something that LA is the one that initiated it.
No, I heard it was the GM from Dallas. They were.
It could be. I mean, like I said, I heard. We're getting all these reports. I don't think, but yeah, you're right. The 28 teams. I mean, the best kept secret in sports right now. To pull out that trade, I would guess that there's going to be some owner, especially if it was baseball, to go to the NBA commission and be like, hey, we need to investigate this. Nobody got, a chance. What happened? Like you said, Luka's 25? I mean, 25. He's still getting there. I mean, I know a lot of fans are thinking that the NBA rigged it so Lakers can have their superstar because LeBron's on his way out.
Well, and the funny thing is, the other thing is, I heard David Windhorst talking on ESPN, and I really don't like to name drop people as it is, but I heard it's like, they weren't worried about the Lakers for this year. Now you've got your superstar for the next 10 years with Luka, because now you can sit there and play Luka. You can have Luka. And the funny thing is, the other funny thing is, there's a lot of funny things in this, and it's not funny, it's kind of funny, weird. But we were talking backstage. The fact is that Luka's still hurt. Luka is hurt. AD is hurt. Most of these guys will probably be back. My understanding is at the end, before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So, and everybody's wondering about like you and I were talking backstage. It was like, who's the winner and who's the loser? And like I said, whoever can get their players to play right now is the winner.
Yeah, that is true.
And at this point, who's the other team in the trade? The Jazz?
The Jazz, yeah. They might have made out. I mean,
Jazz probably made out like a bandit.
Yeah. So, as we're thinking, and kind of put you on the spot, because I've been thinking about this too, with the trade. Where do you rate this at? Okay, let's put people passing away aside. But first thing, you open up your phone, you see breaking news. This trade happens. Where do you rate that about, like, in your mind, the shocking stories in sports, recently? Being a player signing, or
how recent are we going? I just need to know my parameters.
I don't know. 2000s. I mean,
that takes Michael Jordan out. Michael Jordan retiring in '96. That was pretty much a shock.
Yeah,
but we didn't have cell phones. I think legitimately, maybe A-Rod to the Yankees, being traded to the Yankees by the Rangers. Maybe Drew Brees. No, Drew Brees going to the Saints. No, that was a free agent signing.
Yeah.
This is huge. This is.
I mean, you got Springer.
Marshall,
I think signing with the Blue Jays was a big shock.
Marshall Faulk getting traded by the Colts to the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be up there, close to top 5 in shocking moments.
I think it's the top 1. I think it's top 1. I think because we're talking about a guy who's still in his prime, a guy who's an MVP. Who's probably
and you're probably right, top 1 because of how kept secret it was. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, and I'll kind of compare it. We're both wrestling guys. I remember going to the gym one day and I turned on the TV to Raw, and I just got the glimpse of Shane McMahon's music coming. I'm just like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
And that was when Shane returned right before he wrestled.
That one. Okay,
Mania, and that
right.
That was a good kept secret too. But yeah. I give props to Dallas and the Lakers to keep this quiet, especially with the big names involved.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. I think there's more behind the doors in Dallas than just a money thing.
Yeah, I think Dallas is.
I think something happened in the locker room, or maybe Luka, said something. I don't know. We'll see. But with that being said, guys, let's get into it. Last week we did this topic, and we did all of sports. Your top players from each 10 years, starting in the 80s. Today we're going to do 4 categories: 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010s. Football. This weekend, we'll see the Chiefs battle the Eagles, or the refs battling Saquon Barkley. I mean, depending on how you guys all look at it. But so with that being said, Tim, let's get into it. The top 5 in each category. Best 80s NFL players.
Okay.
I think I'll go 4 right out the bat, because I was looking at the list, and I think we're going to get 4. Maybe the roundabout 5 for 5, because I do have a double up.
I don't have a double up. I'm playing straight.
All right, well, kick it off.
And my number 5, I've been playing a trial version of Madden 25, And in Madden 25, you can create a team, and you can create jerseys and stuff like that. So me being the WWE purist, no, the NFL purist, I had to put the Washington Redskins back in.
All right.
And they got the jerseys and everything else. So I put a little time in this, and I thought of this, and this was like one of my brother's favorite players for the Redskins. And I loved watching the skills games in back in the day, back when the Pro Bowl was actually fun to watch.
Yeah.
And the players actually took pride getting voted into it. And you put these guys up where you had the fastest NFL players alive. Yep. You had the fastest guys, and I loved watching it. And then I had the utmost respect for him because I don't have too many defensive players on any of my lists, but you would be shocked to think, but I love defense. I absolutely love defense. This guy was a perennial fastest guy in the league for well into the 90s. But my brother loved this guy, and he if he wasn't pulling for the Packers, he was pulling for the Redskins. My number 5 is the cornerback himself, Darryl Green.
Yep. Yeah, Darryl Green was good. He was, the 80s. I think we probably could have done 20 and still left people out. I think because the 80s and 90s, I think, had a lot of great players in there. My number 5, I'm going to kick it off right away with the double up. 2 running backs that, there's not much you can say. One of them, the coach has come out and said that he wishes he would have got him in the end zone in the Super Bowl. The other one, I think he kind of did everything. So I got Walter, I got Sweetness, Peyton, and I got Eric Dickerson.
Yeah.
You're number 4.
Dickerson, that one hurts because I could have put him in the 90s. Because that was the whole thing of another one of those trades. That's another one of those shocking trades that happened that kind of.
Yep.
But there was this. This was funny because when you hear the story about how this guy got on his team, the Dallas Cowboys was originally looking at this guy, and the funny thing is they had the draft pick after the team that drafted him. And he came from a small little school called Southwest Mississippi Valley State. And what happened to this guy? Well, he got linked up with another guy who was from Notre Dame, and they just decided to win Super Bowls and break records. To me, he will always be a San Francisco 49er. It's crazy because he's now considered the greatest wide receiver in the NFL of all time. You're not going to hear me argue that. My number my number 4 is number 80 himself of the San Francisco 49ers, Jerry Rice.
Yeah, another guy that you could probably put in 2 different decades. And my number 4 is a guy that I believe got into 1 Super Bowl, but didn't sniff it since. I think if he was playing in this day and age, he would break every single passing record alive. And that's one Miami Dolphin himself, Dan Marino.
God, we did a what if? What if the Denver Broncos or the Baltimore Colts had drafted Dan Marino instead of John Elway?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep.
I'm still wishing that would have happened.
Yeah. All right, you're number 3.
My number 3, basically, there was a character in a movie called Any Given Sunday named Shark LaVey, who basically, the writer of the movie basically said, "This is you, go ahead and play him because you're the only guy who can." He had a small little, basically a shot at himself in Waterboy when he says, when Bobby Boucher goes and says a couple things and he comes up and says, and this brings me to my next point: kids don't do drugs.
Yep.
To me, I think the greatest defensive player of all time. I love this guy. I wish I had the attitude. I never wore 56 because I would never do it justice. My number 3 is the New York Giant linebacker, Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, well before his time. My number 3 is a safety, I believe, for most of his career. I think he, if I remember right, one hard-hitting safety for sure. But I remember a time where he had to he was on the injured list or had something to do with his pinky or one of his fingers, and he said, "Nope, just cut it off. I got a game to play." My number 3 is Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, when I heard that, he's like, because they were telling him if you can go on the injured reserve and you'll be done for the season.
Yep.
Or you can cut the tip of your pinky off and you can be back next week.
Yep. Cut it off, he says.
Cut it off.
All right. Your number 2.
My number 2, that aforementioned, that before mentioned quarterback for the other guy. We talked about him last week as being the original Joe Cool. What else can you say that hasn't been said? Then the funny thing is he goes to Kansas City and later on in his career and wears number 19, which most people don't know. If you look at his rookie card from 1979, he is wearing the number 19.
Really?
Yep. But then again, he changed his number to his now famous 16. My number 2 is the Notre Dame San Francisco 49er, Joe Montana.
Well, what can you say? Number 2, you win 4 Super Bowls. You do what you do. You have the pass and catch in the Super Bowl that everybody sees all the time, or playoff game. I don't know if it was a Super Bowl.
It was the NFC Championship game with Gary or with Clark.
But Joe Cool himself, Joe Montana. I mean, what can you say? All right, you're number 1. Kind of interesting.
Well, no, it's not that interesting because it's part of your double up. Go ahead. It's the phrase that pays. My number 1, and this will be my number 1 until the day I die. It was my number 1 last week, matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken. Walter Payton.
Yeah, Payton. It was one of those things where I mean, all these guys could go. But my number 1, we'll go with your number 3, Lawrence Taylor. What can you say? The guy was ahead of his game. Playing that defensive line spot, linebacker, outside. I don't know where he played, but
he came from a basketball college.
Yeah. No, well, you can see. I mean, he was slim and tall. I mean, but yeah, he was definitely well ahead of his game.
We only got 2.
Yeah, his role in the Shark was. I mean, I've heard that many times. That they wrote the character and told him that he's the only one that can play this. I mean, so. All right,
that was an Oliver Stone movie.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into the 90s. I got a couple double ups here.
You doubled up. I've got no double ups throughout my entire thing.
I know. Well, that's good. Normally, you're the one with all the double ups.
Yeah.
I just look at it as just like, God, if, I mean, granted, if we went to 10 or 15, there would be double ups, but
right.
For some reason, it's like, God, I can't leave this guy out because his career was almost the same as this guy. And,
yeah, it's tough.
He was impactful. So,
maybe 3. I'm going to say 3 because we only got 3 last time.
Yeah, let's go with 3. I like 3. I think we'll get more just because I think we're more. I mean, you're a little bit older than me, so you probably know the 80s a little bit more, but 90s was when I really.
2 years older than you.
I know, but the 90s to me was when I really got to watching football and stuff. So
true.
So, anyways, we'll start with number 5. And I think this guy benefited from a very amazing offensive line. Thank you to the Minnesota Vikings for making that stupid trade. And I believe if it worked out, he would have been a Viking if the draft would have laid out the way it did. I could be wrong on that part, but I know some of those players that made that great Dallas team would be
second
Vikings.
round draft pick. He was only a second rounder.
Yeah, I know. My number 5 is Emmitt Smith.
The funny thing is he never rushed for 1,000 yards in college. His best number was like 932.
And no disrespect to him, because I mean you got to do what you got to do, but I think anybody could have put up the numbers he did behind that offensive line.
Yeah. Walter Payton would have had to worry about Barry Sanders destroying his record in his rookie year if he had Dallas's offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you're number 5.
My number 5 could probably have been put into another one of those guys that could have probably been put into 2 different decades. But, when you think about quarterbacks in the 90s, there's one that kind of sticks out. To me, it did, and it doesn't help that I grew up in Wisconsin, so you kind of sticks out even further. The guy loved his Vicodin, but he's the only guy known to end his career with 4 different teams with an interception as his final pass, because his last pass with the Falcons was an interception. His last pass with the Packers was an interception. His last pass was a Falcon. Back in the 90s, it's not too much of a shock, because the Falcons sucked except for that couple of years. And then his last pass with the Jets was an interception, and his last pass with the Vikings was an interception. Then again, that's the only interception. That's also the only interception where he got hurt too, with the Vikings.
Yep.
But Green Bay doesn't win a Super Bowl, doesn't go to 2 Super Bowls if it wasn't for this gunslinger who likes to send picks to New York journalists. But my number 5 is the kid from Southern Mississippi himself, Brett Favre.
All right. My number 4, I got to double up. It is probably 2 of the best defensive linemen in this decade. I don't know what else to say. I think both of them were just well above their game. They played today. I think they probably would have almost doubled some of their numbers in a year. My number 4A is was in the Super Bowl 4 straight times, lost them all, and the other one, I think he's got at least 1 ring. I know with the Packers, he might have a couple. My 4A is Bruce Smith. The second one is Reggie White.
Yeah, Reggie's got 1. Reggie, I know, has only got 1.
Yeah. But yeah, both those guys are just monsters. You talk about monsters of gridiron; those are it.
Yeah, those guys were, and the one, and it's the funny thing is, one of those monsters of the mid was the Minister of Defense.
Yep.
The fact is, he was an ordained minister, kind of helped, but
coming out of college, he's ordained minister. So.
Yep.
All right, you're number 4.
My number 4. Okay, I get it, and I already know the argument's coming. He had a shortened career, but was already in the conversation. Had some better years than Jerry Rice. Was already in talks of being the second best NFL wide receiver. For a time, he was the only one that was, and I think a lot of people would agree that he was the only one that, for the longest time, was actually giving Jerry Rice a run for his money with his numbers.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got his brother who decides to play tight end for Denver. His speech, Shannon's speech is still one of the most.
Oh, you're going that route. Okay.
I honestly think the Veterans Committee is going to be wise one day, and they will put him in the Hall of Fame. I think he's well deserved. Much like he's along the lines of Dale Murphy. Why isn't Dale Murphy in?
Yep.
I get the fact is that this guy's career didn't last as long as it should, but his numbers still hold a lot of water in a lot of categories. My number 4, I was lucky enough. I think I've seen this guy play once. Lucky enough. My number 4 is Sterling Sharp.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people agree with you. And for some reason, NFL, honestly, I think the NFL is one of those that is like the hardest to get into the Hall.
Well, yeah, you still got think about all the wide receivers that aren't still in the Hall of
And
Fame.
they don't double up on positions. So I mean, if you're going up against, 3 other decent receivers, you're not getting in. I mean,
well, yeah, because you look at
where baseball will, if there's 4 pitchers
yeah.
on there, they're all in. I mean,
Well, look at the wide receivers that still aren't in. You got Steve Smith that still isn't in. Just new wide receivers: Steve Smith, Reggie Wayne. You don't have Torrey Holt. You got the names. The names are there.
The thing is that wide receiver crop to get into the Hall
is hard.
It's not dying out because look at all the guys coming up.
Now you still got Calvin Johnson. You still got Calvin Johnson who's due.
Yep.
You got Terrell. You got Chad Johnson still coming through. Randy Moss is coming quick.
No, Randy Moss is in already.
Oh, Moss is in. That's right. Yeah, it's still difficult. And look how long it took Andre Reed to get in.
That Larry Fitzgerald coming up. I mean,
Fitzgerald is coming up. Bolden's coming up.
Yep. So my number 3, you had him in the 80s. I have him here in the 90s. He could have been both. He had 2 great quarterbacks, and he did skip a beat. I think he should have stayed in San Fran, but he went to the Raiders and he went to Seattle. I don't think there was another stop there. I could be wrong.
No, he went to a couple.
My number 3 is Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Rice, I think, played for a couple teams. Wow, I didn't realize my battery went that fast.
He played for the Raiders in Seattle for sure. So
yeah, I know that because I saw. Where did I see him play? I saw him. I think the last time I saw Rice play live. He was in. I think he was in Seattle. No. He was still a Niner. He played. Yeah, it's just Oakland.
He was signed in the offseason 2005 to the Broncos.
Yeah, the Denver.
But he was only a practice squad member.
Yeah, he got cut in preseason.
Yeah,
that's what it was. He got cut in preseason.
That cut the greatest.
How do you cut Jerry Rice in preseason?
Yeah. All right, you're number 3.
My number 3. I respect your 2 defensive players that you have, but I'm going to one up you a defensive player. Another guy we lost a little. We got cut. We lost him in the middle of it before a season. And you talk about 2 guys whose numbers would go up against the offenses now. I like this little kid from Alabama who, if he would have gotten, he was tearing Dave Craig a new asshole, and when he was against in Seattle, we bring up Seattle again. I think that's a record that's never going to be broken. 7 sacks in a game. Yeah. You know how hard it is? I have trouble doing that in Madden, let alone let's see somebody do that against a 330-pound offensive tackle on the other side of the ball. I think this kid, he's older than I am. Not by much, but he was older than I am. I loved watching this guy play. Another reason why I didn't wear the number 58 in high school. I wore 50, 55. Yeah, I went to go screw up Brian Bosworth and Mike Singletary and Steve Ettman because I wore 50, 55, and 79. But I loved the way this guy played. I hated the fact he was in the SEC in college. Yeah. So I hated to see him once a year. But my number 3 is Derek Thomas.
Yeah, he is one that we lost way too soon. There's another one in the 90s here too, but Pat Tillman's another one too, but Pat Tillman.
That he was, yeah,
It
late.
was
That was
like
late 90s.
late 90s, but he's another one too that could have probably made this list. You know, my number two. I there's a lot you can say about this guy. We say it every time we bring it up. At least I say it every time. I mean, he is the only guy to play in two different sports on the same day, both sides of the ball. I remember, I think it was when Dallas played Pittsburgh, that he joked around and said that he wanted to do everything that Cordell Stewart did to one up him, and that is one Mr. Deion Sanders.
Took us this long for you to snipe me. This long. So, it's not C2C unless we're sniping. It's the phrase that pays. It's the other third statement we have. My number two is your number two, Deion Sanders.
Yeah, what could I mean? You know, that guy is just yeah. My number one, my double up. You got half of it early. That you sniped. The other half is his counterpart. 98, I believe they won co-MVP together.
Yeah.
And as I think it's the only time it's been done. This year, I think.
No, it's been done twice.
Oh, okay.
Manning and McNair both won at the same time too.
Oh, that's right, they did. And I think this year could have been a third time, but
I think
it's
possible.
What?
It's possible.
Yeah. So at your number 5, you got Brett Favre. I mean, the guy started how many games since he took over Green Bay?
Too many.
And of course comes to Minnesota and probably shouldn't have played that second year here.
No.
And then Barry Sanders. I mean, the guy.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. Probably he retired too early because he wasn't getting no help in Detroit. I think he could have had a decent career.
The human pinball.
Past that, if he would have went somewhere else. But yeah, Barry Sanders, Brett Favre, my number ones.
Yeah, go ahead. Blinker. Because my number one is the other half of your number one. It's hilarious to think that. Now I want you to think how badly this is. Remember, Troy Aikman went number one. Troy Aikman went one.
Yep.
In 89. Green Bay went 2 and took Tony Mandrich.
Yep.
Now think about that. Barry Sanders could have played with Brett Favre.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows? Brett Favre's career probably would have been different because he would have had a running back. I mean,
he would have had a running back. And the funny thing is, Brett got drafted in 91, got traded in 93.
Yep.
So Barry would have already been in his prime at that point, and you got second or third year Brett Favre with fifth year Barry Sanders, and a better than Detroit Lion offensive line.
We always like to do the what ifs and stuff. You get Barry Sanders in Green Bay, maybe that turns around Magic Man's career, and you don't get Brett Favre,
and then you don't get Brett Favre. No, but see, you got to remember also. Everybody keeps forgetting that Ron Wolf wanted Brett Favre for the Jets.
Yeah.
And then Wolf got fired from the Jets and Green Bay picked him up. And the first year that Ron Wolf goes to Green Bay, he trades.
Is that when Holmgren goes from Atlanta to?
And that's when who goes to Atlanta? I think is that the George Teague trade?
Because Holmgren comes from Atlanta and brings Favre with him, right?
No, Holmgren was already in Green Bay. Holmgren was Holmgren was the offensive coordinator in San Francisco.
Then it must have been one of the coaches that wanted. I thought
it was Jerry Glanville didn't want him.
Okay,
Glanville didn't want him in Atlanta because he didn't think he could be a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Look. And the funny thing is, and most people grew up where we grew up know where Jerry Glanville went to college. So he went to Northern Michigan University.
Yep. All right. So let's move on to the 2000s.
Oh,
I'm going to go on. Oh God, I don't know.
I'm going to say I could honestly say 5.
I was thinking that too, but I don't know if you got one. Because I was debating on one of mine to put on the list, and I don't know.
Say 4.
I'll
And
go
we'll be safe.
4.
4.
I'll go 4.
Yeah, 4.
All right, kick it off. This will be your. Well, I should say this, but go ahead.
My number 5. I think I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about because he was born somewhere, or I can't remember where it was. And I said, if I were to tell you about the face of the Baltimore Ravens, you would know exactly who I'd be talking about because there's only one guy from the 2000s. Granted, yeah, you could have Ed Reed, and I thought of Ed Reed too, but and I'm lucky enough to have an autograph one of his cards, so I have to look at this. I've only got two autographs on my 2000s of guys on my list, so but basically revolutionized the linebacker room in the NFL, let alone Baltimore. And I remember watching what was it, Hard Knocks, the Baltimore Hard Knocks, and it's just hilarious. Between the conversations with him and Shannon Sharp are absolutely hilarious, but the guy had a skill set that I think only rivaled Mike Singletary, because the guy had a nose for everything. I'm not going to say where he went to college because that's the most annoying thing I've ever heard on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or whatever, because that is just ridiculous. My number 5 is the middle linebacker, Ray Lewis.
Yeah, good linebacker. My number 5, I think this is where would be our one chance. If you don't have this guy on our list, then we don't get 5 for 5. Because I think the other 4 are going to be solid.
Okay.
I'm going with a tight end.
Nope.
I think he set the standard for how the tight end position changed. I mean, him and Antonio Gates are probably the 2 top tight ends. I mean, I can hear debates either way, but for some reason, and we'll probably see his face this week on Sunday. But Tony Gonzalez.
And the funny thing is, I met Tony Gonzalez too.
Yeah. You're number 4.
My number 4. I'm going to pull out your homer card, bud. I think every other wide receiver at the time was on a decline. I think he should have never left Minnesota. I don't know what he was thinking. I think he was going. He was going. I don't know what anybody was thinking, to be honest. You pair him up with Chris Carter, and it didn't matter what quarterback he threw behind the set under center, because he was playing. He catch anything. He kept anything that was in his wheelhouse. I still can't believe that he played for the Raiders, the Patriots, and not win a Super Bowl, but holds records. The Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Oh, he's played for like one other team, but I can't ever remember.
Well, he went back to Minnesota.
I know he went back to Minnesota after. Was it after Tennessee?
No, it was after New England. I think
after New England, and then he went to Tennessee. But there's one other team I can't remember, and it's weird. It's right after the Titans too. And I've got 1% battery on my phone, so I can't really go deep into that. But my number 4 is the Minnesota wide receiver himself, Randy Moss.
Well, let's do it. At number 4, your number 4, my number 4. I mean, when you're an impact player when other teams have to draft just to try to stop you. And I think Green Bay drafted 8.
No, they traded for Charles Woodson to stop him.
Yeah, but I think they also drafted like 8 different corners to try to stop him. I mean, they went defensive heavy for a while there.
Yeah, San Francisco.
I was going to say San Francisco. Yeah. So he took a year off. Or 2 years off, actually, the side with San Fran, according to Wikipedia.
Was that the
Well, I
year?
mean-
Was that the year that they went to the Super Bowl with Kaepernick?
Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, Randy Moss, you throw it up to him, he's going to go get it. Minnesota, knock on wood, has been blessed. I think that's their position. They've been blessed with some very good receivers that come through. Now if we get a quarterback that can get them the ball, I mean, we can see more. But they got some good receivers. But Moss, when you started talking in the '90s about a guy that everybody thought that was going to hunt Rice down, I thought you were talking about Moss in the '90s.
Right?
I mean,
No,
was a good one, but yeah, Randy Moss definitely should not have left Minnesota. That trade was
stupid.
And I think I'm trying to
Who
think.
did you
Wolf
get?
owns it now. Red McCombs. I'm trying to think. Was it McCombs that traded him?
Was it McCombs or was it
was it when they got McCombs? Or
was it Ziggy Wolf? Was it Ziggy Wolf?
No, Ziggy Wolf didn't trade him. Maybe. Oh, that's probably what. Has Ziggy been around that long with us?
Ziggy's been around since the '90s.
Anyways, but the owner did come out and say that if maybe it was Ziggy. Now that I think about it, he said that if he knew that they were shopping Moss, he would not have bought the team because he would not have approved that deal.
That sounds like something Ziggy would have said.
Yeah. So, your number 2 or your number 3.
My number 3. This guy gets drafted by this team with the fifth pick in the first round. I want to say in 2000. I just had it up to 2002, 2001, and then turn around in the second round, trade up to the Atlanta Falcons. No, they traded Atlanta to get Atlanta traded for the number 1 pick with the San Diego Chargers to pick up Michael Vick. San Diego Chargers go back for the 5th pick and get this running back who is an all-world running back and one of those once in a decade type of running backs, because we've now had two running backs on this list, 3 running backs on this list that were once in a decade.
Oh, yeah.
But absolutely phenomenal. And then they turn around and draft Drew Brees in the second round in the first pick of the second round. And how they don't win a deep Super Bowl with Brees and this running back is absolutely it's an absolute miracle of ignorance on this part at this point. And the thing is, you had the right coach too. You had Schottenheimer.
Yep.
Still blows my mind that you couldn't do it. And then you had Antonio Gates to go with him. Why not? You had the whole thing. And Junior Seau playing on the other side of the ball. Ronnie Harrison playing on the other side of the ball. All before they all went to New England. But what can you say? Arguably, a lot of people's top 5 running backs of all time list. Another LT. I've got him on my number 5.
Close.
5, 6. But my number 3 is the running back from Texas Christian University, LaDainian Tomlinson.
All right. Well, my number 3 is your number 5. Like you said, the face of the Ravens, face of that linebacking core. What can you say? I mean, I know a lot of people will not have him on the list for outside of football reasons, but
stupid reasons.
Yeah. But no, he was him, Ed Reed, Suggs, that defense was just solid.
Saragusa and
so Ray Rice at number 3. You're number 2.
Ray Lewis. Ray Rice was the running back.
Yeah, Ray Lewis.
And he's not going to be on most people's list for field issues too.
Hey, he won't be on J-Max list either, no matter what. So.
Yeah,
all right, you're number 2.
My number 2, and it's funny because people would think that I've got him at number 1 because of who's my favorite team. But if you remember last week, my number 2 player was player from the NFL. But what can you say? The guy who holds records over records over records over records and still does not. And I laugh about this today because he went to the University of Tennessee and he's an SEC guy and can't beat a team that's got wears blue and orange, which is hilarious because he's 0-5 again, 0-4 or 0-5 against the Florida Gators, which I thought was great. And then we draft him with the first pick in the draft, and I put my foot through the TV because I didn't want him on my Colts. I wanted Ryan Leaf. Great. I'm a moron. That's cool. I understand that. The guy with the biggest forehead that could probably use the Titantron for the WWE so they could show the entrance movies on.
What, you guys drafted Dragon Viper?
Oh my God! they've got the forehead of the same size. It's kind of odd. But the guy they call the sheriff, and I'll be honest, I'm absolutely happy that we got him because we've got the only Super Bowl that we've had this century, which is better than what I can say for most people's teams. At least we've been to 2 with the same guy. My number 2 is Peyton Manning.
All right. Well, my number 2, we will go with your number 3. Yeah, that San Diego Chargers team. I don't know how many more players it would have taken for that team to be in the Super Bowl and win it, and with the Hall of Famers that are on that list.
Literally, it's an absolute mind mess that how you can screw that up.
Yep, exactly. All right, you're number 1.
I have a feeling you're doubled up on one.
Nope, not this one.
Not this one? Okay. All right. Well, if anybody watched the show last week, this shouldn't be much of a shock, but I'm kind of got them on my list on 2010s too. Guys got 7 Super Bowls, 7, 9, 7, 12. I don't care.
7 out of 10, I think, or 11.
7 out of too many because he beat Peyton Manning to do it. So yeah, I'm a little.
And he lost to Eli.
And he loses to Eli. That's the thing that hurts the most is that he kills Peyton Manning in championship games, but yet he can't get by Eli. I'd love to say Manning is a kryptonite, but it's not. Even flattened balls can put this guy in a Super Bowl. That one still hurts. That one hurts by a mile, and that was Andrew Luck. That was the Luck and AFC Championship game too. My number 1 is that son of a biscuit from Michigan himself, Tom Brady.
All right, my number 1 is your number 2. Yeah, what can you say about Peyton Manning? That hasn't been said. I mean, that Super Bowl that they won too, I still think that was against the Bears, right?
Yep. That was in Miami.
I think if the Bears would have started not the Grossman. Who got?
They started Grossman. They started Gross. Was Orton? No, Orton hadn't been drafted yet.
Who was the guy that they played? I'm trying to think now. There's Grossman got hurt. They brought him back for the Super Bowl, and I think the Bears would have won if they would have had the backup in there. So I don't know.
You're just talking. I understand.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got 4.
In a weird way.
I knew my. What's that?
Yeah, we got 4 in a weird way.
Yeah. But all right. So let's move to 2010s. This one again. I got 2 double ups on this one, so I know you don't have any double ups. One of my guys I know is already going to be gone. I'm gonna go 3.
I'm gonna go. You like 3? 1, 2. I want to say 4 because I know 1 is one of mine is a personal preference because I have jerseys of 2 of these guys, just so you know. But they're both in the United States, so that kind of sucks.
I know it's tough.
I'll say 3, and we'll hit 4 just because.
Yeah, probably. All right. I'll start it off at number 5. I think honestly, this guy in recent memory, I don't think anybody's got that big of notoriety coming out of college as an offensive lineman than this guy. But I think the Browns hit a home run with him. I want to say it was the Browns with the tackle Joe Thomas.
Yeah, that was the Cleveland Browns. Never missed a game in Cleveland either.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they.
If you've seen him now, he doesn't look. He looks like he's like 60 pounds lighter than he was when he played.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, he's tiny now.
You're number 4 or 5.
My number 5. My number 5 is a former ball boy for the Minnesota Vikings. Where this would be a great guy to pair up with Randy Moss, and if he would have stayed. Yep. But how did he not go to Minnesota is beyond me. How did he not go to the University of Minnesota and get stuck going to Pittsburgh? The University of Pittsburgh, going to Pitt. But I what can you say? This is another one of those guys. What can you say? Probably one of the nicest guys in the NFL. Absolutely, probably one of the greatest guys. But his numbers are astronomical. We brought him up earlier. We were talking about wide receivers that aren't in the Hall of Fame as of yet. But hey, I've got an autograph and I've got a jersey of this guy. I've got a graded jersey autograph of this guy. But what can you say for everything that he did for the Arizona Cardinals? Him being put together opposite Anquan Bolden, having Kurt Warner throw to you, just another one of those teams. If you don't play Pittsburgh's defense, they win the Super Bowl. Yeah. It's strange. My number 5 is the wide receiver from the Arizona Cardinals, who will never play for the Minnesota Vikings. Sorry to break your heart.
He wasn't going to.
Yeah, he was never going to leave the Cardinals. My number 5 is Larry Fitzgerald.
And just to fact check myself, it was Kyle Orton that led the Bears to the playoffs, and then they
was too. Yeah, you're right.
Then they put Rex Grossman back in the playoffs. So I think that Super Bowl would have been different with Kyle Orton in there.
Well, the thing is, they started, and the funny thing is, the Bears started the game off with a kick return for a touchdown.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So, all right, my number 4. I'm not a big fan of the guy, but the guy's got talent. He again kind of rejuvenated the tight end position on speed and being able to be a big dude.
Don't say Rob.
The guy can spike a football into cement and probably dent it. I know I kind of was debating on him on here, but he's a former 24 television champion or 24/7 champion on WWE.
I blame Mojo Rawley.
Yeah. But the stuff he does now, commentating on the sports on the pregame show, pretty cool. I'll go with my number 4, Rob Gronkowski.
God, I can't stand him.
As a person, I don't think I can be friends with them. I mean,
I could maybe if we were in our 20s, I could hang out with a guy.
Yeah, probably.
I watch him, and sometimes I think he's like a walking CTE commercial. It's like, holy dude, you slur a lot. Yeah. It's kind of scary to watch. But I got respect for the guy. I just no.
Yeah, you're number 4.
My number 4, and this is the last time that a San Francisco 49er will be on this list. I personally like the guy. The guy went into the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, I want to say. Everybody puts him in the same category as Bobby Wagner and Luke Kuechly. I think a guy who had a career that was really short. I think he only played in the league 9 years. But I love the way he does things. I almost went and said something stupid. Like, I really love the way he do things. Tim's going to get canceled today. But, another guy from the SEC went to Ole Miss. I don't know how many autographs I have of this guy. I've got his jersey too. I bought one from Hong Kong. I don't care. I had to have his jersey because this was the guy that in the 2010s that I absolutely loved watching. To me, if he had gotten a Super Bowl ring with Kaepernick, he passes my number 3. My number 4 is Patrick Willis.
Who?
Patrick Willis.
Oh, okay. I was just like, wait a minute. It did dawn on me quick.
Like,
yeah.
did you just New Day me? Who?
All right, my number 3, probably one of the best core, 1/4 of the core of defensive backs in Seattle. That defense was just hawks around that ball. It seemed like every time the ball was there's 6, 7 guys right there with it. I don't know how they could do it, but my number 3 is Richard Sherman.
Yeah. This is going to be
Your
my
number
last.
2.
My 3 is going to be the last defensive player on my list. It's funny how you brought up one Wisconsin guy. I'm going to bring up another one. Hated to see this guy 2 times a year. Absolutely hated it. He's probably one of the reasons why Andrew Luck had to retire early because he was getting sacked so many damn times. I never saw this guy play, but I saw Jadeveon Clowney play when he was at South Carolina. My number 3 is the guy who ended up going to Arizona at the end of his career. Stupid move. Absolutely dumb move.
Should have went to Pittsburgh.
Should have went to Pittsburgh to play with TJ. And then he could have and his other brother, But my number he could have went to Green Bay. You were kind of hoping that would have never happened and play at home. Because he's from right down the road in Pewaukee.
Yep.
But my number 3 is Justin Watt. Yeah, his first name's Justin. I found that out in a commercial.
Funny story about Justin is he was fully committed to the Gophers until they got rid of
Tubby Smith.
No, who the heck was the football coach at the time?
You remember he was at Central Michigan playing tight end for first year.
I can't think of the coach, but once they fired the coach, he opted out of Minnesota. So
was that before was that after he transferred out of Central?
Yeah. No. Yeah, maybe he went to Central after
he went to Central and then transferred to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah. But my number 2 is a double up. We'll snipe you right away. So half of my double up is Mr. J.J. Watt, who I still think I'm with you. Should have went to Pittsburgh. Should have went home to Green Bay. I don't understand why the Cardinals was the choice.
I think the Cardinals were coming off a Super Bowl where they had just gotten Kyler Murray, I think.
Maybe. I don't know. I still think anywhere, would have been better. Yeah. And then my 1A on that side is from the Rams, Mr. Aaron Donald. So.
I saw the name on a list of going, he's going to double him up. I know it already. He's going to double up AJ Watt. There, it's Aaron Donald.
All right. Your number 2.
My number 2, well, what can you say? We talk about once-in-a-generation wide receivers. We talked about it with Jerry Rice. We talked about it with Sterling Sharp. We've talked about it Larry Fitzgerald, who makes this my second one in this decade. We talked about Randy Moss. What can you say when you've got a nickname? And this is another guy who Barry Sandered it, left early because he wasn't getting the help. Yep. And the funny thing is he was there with Matthew Stafford, so he had the help. At this point, I don't understand. And then he got Jared Goff in his last year.
Yeah.
Don't get it. My number 2 is Megatron himself, Calvin Johnson.
That's a good one. Well, my number 1, you had him last decade. I'll have him this one, along with his counterpart. I think both of these guys.
Oh, you doubled up.
Yeah, I doubled up. Yep.
I should have.
And it just seemed like the whole 2010s was, one was where was Tom Brady going to go? How far is he going to go? Is he going to win it? And my B is how many yards is he going to pass? Is he going to break the season record? How many touchdowns is he going to throw? Blah 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 blah. So I got Tom Brady and Drew Brees.
Oh, you went Drew Brees. Like Tom Brady and Drew Brees. I'm like over Tom Brady and Peyton. No.
All right, you're number one.
Go ahead. Show the little flashy thing. The little flashy thing from Men in Black. My number one is half your number one. Tom Brady. What can you say? I hate it. Absolutely hate it. And I really hate him as an announcer, but that's
he's so robotic. He's so
egotistical. He's so narcissistic.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I am going to watch the Super Bowl. Thank God it's at 12 o'clock my time here, so I don't have to hear it because I'm watching it in my bedroom and my wife is sleeping next to me, so I get to turn that sucker down. The only time I'm going to turn that thing full. The only time I'm going to turn that.
You get to read it, then you'll have those
commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people, I don't like to listen to. All right, so that was our list. Now we get to go to our fun blind five. Again, for those watching for the first time, Tim and I each pick a category. We give us names. We try to rank them. Sometimes we make fools of ourselves, like having action heroes, and I forgot who it was. Arnold Schwarzenegger is my number 5.
Yeah.
Even though I knew he was going to be on the list, I don't know why I wanted to save the spot. But all right, so for me, I'll go first.
I'm always interested to see if one of these times we actually pick the same thing.
That would be kind of funny. Whatever. My 5 for you, or my category for you, is we always talk about quarterbacks that never won the big game. We're going to do running backs. Top 5 running backs to not win the big one.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
And I was going to leave a couple off, but there was so many on there that I was just like, we'll
so many on. Okay.
All right.
Oh, shoot. I know a couple on these lists at this point.
So we'll start with the one running back that got to play in 4 games and lost them all. One Thurman Thomas.
Oh, this is the one where you go, you got to put them low because there's some big names on this list. There's some huge names on this list.
Yep.
I'm going to say 4 and regret it.
Gale Sayers.
Oh, good. Like I said, my point, folks. Right there is my point. And the fact is, it's only going to get worse from here on out. Thurman Thomas was the easy one because I'm seeing Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson, Eric Dickerson. I'm looking at numbers over names. God bless you, Gale Sayers. I'm going to say 3 with Gale Sayers. Somebody's fan base is going to get really pissed off.
AP.
Then why do I got to see the person that I'm going to? He didn't win one?
Nope. Wow. You got to get there first.
Well, but I thought he might have got there with other teams.
No.
5.
All right. Eric Dickerson.
This is the one that's going to hurt. I know I've only got 1 and 2 left.
Yep.
I'm gonna say 1 and be happy with it.
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I knew it. There's nothing I could do about it. There was nothing I could do about it.
No, honestly, I mean, that's a good debate there, though, too. I mean, me and you, honestly, we flip-flopped 4 and 5. I had AP at 4, and I had Thurman Thomas at 5.
Yeah, I could have
that. We flip-flopped 1 and 2 because I had Sanders at 1, Dickerson.
You could have put Frank Gore. You could have put.
Oh yeah, there was a whole bunch because I was originally I was going to leave Sanders off because that's
Bo Jackson. You had Bo Jackson.
Yeah, Bo Jackson.
Earl Campbell. OJ
Oh, yeah,
Simpson.
there was a ton of them. Curtis Martin,
Curtis. No, yeah, you're right. Curtis didn't win.
Sean Alexander. I mean,
That was
there
one of the
list
first
there.
names that came up. Was Sean in my head that
Yeah.
came up with Sean Alexander.
Because I actually, honestly, there was Dickerson and Garrett Slater. Those are the ones I thought won it. I wasn't positive.
No, because the only
So
time
when I saw him on the list, I'm like, okay, I'll put Barry on the list because I wasn't going to put Barry on the list because that was the obvious one.
Yeah, that's the obvious
Barry didn't win it.
Because I thought because Gale Sayers because the Bears only won in '85.
Yeah, he wasn't there, so
he might have won an NFL championship, but he never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, nope. Yeah, he was on the list for not winning a Super Bowl. So, all right, give it to me.
All right, so Sunday is when football goes on, but Saturday that's a whole different day. When we were growing up, cartoons happened on Saturday.
Ooh.
So I decided to go best cartoons of our childhood.
Ooh.
This will tell me exactly how horrible this is going to go. Because I don't know what cartoons you watch, so this is basically right now a shot in the dark. So we'll start it off. DuckTales.
Man, there's so many.
Yeah, this is a scary.
This is one where I could go 5 and up, and hopefully I land on a good one. DuckTales was good though. I like the. I'll go 4. I'll go 4 DuckTales.
All right. We'll go the Jetsons.
Oh, I love the Jetsons. Oh, man. I'll go number 2 with the Jetsons.
All right. The Smurfs.
Wasn't a big. I enjoyed the Smurfs. Wasn't a big Smurf fan, so I'll go 5 with the Smurfs.
All right. The Flintstones.
I love the movie that they did together with the Jetsons and the Flintstones. I love the Flintstones. I'll go 5 with the Flintstones.
I thought you put 5 with the DuckTales.
Or 1 with the Flintstones.
You went 1 with the Flintstones. Okay, so you've got 1.
I got 3 left.
You got 3 left. So you're putting Scooby-Doo at 3.
Okay, yeah. I could. I mean, no, I'm not upset with that. I like Scooby-Doo. I do like when they had like the Harlem Globetrotters on there and stuff like that. Yeah, so my top 3. I would stick with this list.
You went Flintstones, Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, DuckTales, and Smurfs?
Yep.
I had DuckTales and Smurfs flipped.
Okay.
I love DuckTales. I absolutely love DuckTales.
Oh, I did too. I love DuckTales.
My dad, when we had our big satellite dish, and when this is piracy 101, folks, just so anybody ever knows. This is piracy back in the 80s. My dad had a VCR, and when local TV stations got where they would show the week before, like on a Saturday, they would the distributor like Buena Vista or Walt Disney would send that week's episodes of DuckTales in like one feed. So my dad would sit there and record. My dad had every episode of DuckTales recorded. I knew what DuckTales episodes came before everybody else did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was watching. My dad loved DuckTales. I loved everybody in my family loved DuckTales.
DuckTales was a good one. DuckTales was a good one. So with that being said, Tim, final thoughts? What you got going on? Who's your pick for the Super Bowl? I know morning tailgate will be on Sunday. So
I've got the Eagles. I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes. I honestly I would hope something else would happen, like the place blows up, but that's just me. I'm hoping Kansas City decides to show up dressed up as Santa Claus, so the Eagles fans can pelt Santa Claus with batteries. Like you said, I hope it's not can't. It's not the Philadelphia Eagles versus the NFL at this point. I'm kind of hoping that Saquon he's done quite a good job of putting all of his detractors to bed, and he can just shut them up completely. I think this was a replay of a Super Bowl from 4 years ago?
22, 23?
Yeah, something like that. I'm rooting for KC. I hope if KC gets a Super Bowl, they give an honorary ring to Jason Kelsey.
You're rooting for the Eagles, not KC.
Oh God, no! I don't want KC. Forget that. Don't give it to Taylor. No,
you said that though.
I know. I didn't mean that. I want Philadelphia to win. At this point, we're so indoctrinated by the fact is that there's subliminal messages that NFL's got in all of their NFL commercials going root for KC. No, I don't want KC. I wanted a Commanders Buffalo game, just another revenge game, another repeat game from the 90s. But I'm hoping, you know what? I'm hoping for really good commercials.
Yep. I think that's what a lot of people want. It's just real good commercials right now.
And my wife said the greatest thing. She says, because she's been reading up on the Super Bowl. She's not going to watch it, but she's reading up on it. And she says, "Who's this Kendrick Lamar?" And I said, "Not a waste." And the next words out of my mouth is, "Well, first of all, congratulations, you don't know him. Second of all, he's not worth your time."
Yeah.
He goes, "No, who is he?" I said, he did the soundtrack for Black Panther. So, okay. And I'm like, that's the only thing she'll know him from, and she won't know him from anything else. And she's, I didn't like it. I didn't like that movie. Okay, cool.
So for me, my pick, I honestly, I just really want a good game. I do kind of want to see the three-peat for me the first time. If the game is called down the middle and it's fair, I can accept that. I hope Barkley goes off if the Phillies win, so that just proves more that he should win the MVP. I think it was announced or going to be announced here in a couple days.
It'll be announced the night before.
Okay, yeah. So
because at the NFL honors.
Yeah, I really hope Barkley wins that, but I think it's Josh Allen.
I hope he breaks Timmy Smith's single game Super Bowl record.
Oh yeah, I really hope Barkley just goes off. I really do. I hope it's not like you said, the Eagles versus the refs. I hope the refs. Hopefully, they got good talking to it, and a lot of people think that the NFL is scripted now. Blah blah blah, whatever. Refs are going to make mistakes. I get it. We all get it.
It's hilarious is when the NFL is more scripted than the WWE.
Yeah, exactly. So. I know the bets will start coming out on how long the national anthem will be, what color the Gatorade will be, who's going to first touchdown, blah blah blah.
I think those prop bets come out on Wednesday. I got to check my site, but I think they come out Wednesday.
Yeah. Later today, 1:00 my time, I will have my third installment interview with Coach Cody and his St. Paul Bears Indoor Football League. Our guest this week will be running back Isaiah Sims, who was the 2023 running back of the year in semi-pro ball, I believe it was. I'll have to look more into that. Be good to talk to him. Hopefully Cody has some updated dates for us on when tryouts are, home field.
He's got. I think on the website. I think on the Facebook site they have tryout dates. I think.
Yep. I think they did make an announcement, so we'll break down more into that. Hopefully they found a home field to play the games. I know he was working on that. But with that being said, keep checking out C2C all week long. Again, morning tailgate Sunday with their show. Then the countdown begins. You got On Deck coming back, and then in April, we'll start talking draft coverage, and we'll have our annual C2C draft coverage of C2 Bacon and Tim, and we can hear Tim say, "What's that?"
Bacon and eggs.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll hear Tim say how many times this guy should be drafted at this spot and then get passed by. So,
Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be this year, but I'm already looking for him.
yeah. So with that
It's
being said,
going to be Tyler Warren. I want to see how far Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, if he goes past Indianapolis, you may see a not a good thing.
actually, right now, I'm not much of a college guy, but I'm kind of interested to see where Sanders goes. I know they're drafted up, they're speculating high, but I don't know. I don't know.
This will tell you how much I'm not paying attention to that. He's the quarterback, right?
Yeah, he's the quarterback of the
he's going fine.
Colorado.
I think
that's the guy I'm kind of interested to see where he ends up.
The Giants, just to make Dion mad.
Who knows? So, with that being said, we'll see y'all next week. I'll see you guys in a few hours, but we'll see you next week on C2C Rankem. Have a good one.